Well, Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports Podcast. That's Just Oklahoma Sports Podcast. We talk all things Thunder, all things Sooners, and get it all going. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment, 5-star review, do all the things that make us seem like we're better than okay. And again, I'm here with another Village Idiot, my brother, Jared. How are you, sir?
I am good. I am ready for football already again. I already miss it. I wish I was going to the game. Actually, I don't because I don't like Tulsa. Um, yeah, no, I'm ready for football. I guess we have games tomorrow. There's actually because we're getting back to Thursday night games.
Yeah.
I think this week's is a good one. I just did my pick'ems and I don't remember who plays on Thursday. Um, but yeah, I'm just excited, man. I feel like I just got done watching the all access episode, which was I actually really enjoyed. Brandon Hall, who I didn't actually realize, by the way, that his family stayed in Oklahoma while he was coaching at Troy.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
I think that's at least that's how I understood it. And like he talked about how much he loves Oklahoma, like the state of Oklahoma, and obviously he's a OU alum.
Yeah.
So really cool. It was a really cool story. Then Towie Walker was the kind of like featured thing. There, the name of the episode was what is your why? So like, Towie talked about how he has a son, and Brandon talks about his family and how his he wanted to stay in Oklahoma when he was in high school so he could play football here. I think he played at Newcastle or Bethany or something. So yeah, just a cool episode. So I'm just like hyped, dude. I'm in like that whole mode of just like it's like where I'm finally like this is the week where it's like I don't know, like like you kind of have to like speed, like you have to like get that running start at football season. So like even like the first couple of weeks, you're still kind of like, oh crap, it's here. You know what I mean? And then like
Right.
now, like you've kind of like absorbed it all. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a better mood, man. Maybe I'm in a better mood. How are you though? How are things in? It's apparently much cooler. Is it like my
Oh
friend said
yeah.
like the high is like 70s or 80s all week or something?
Yeah, it's been in the 80s. All week's been nice. I mean, life is good. Tonight's just crazy. We're trying to pod and get this out, for everybody ahead. And church stuff ran a little long, hanging out with some folks. And then my daughter had a bunch of friends come with her to church tonight. So I was shuttling them all home. And halfway on my way to shuttling the first kid home, I realized I left my laptop at the church. So I had to go all the way back to the church to get my laptop, and then walk through the door and realize I left my headphones at the church. So then I'm scrambling around trying to find headphones. So things are good. Everything's fine. But the last
Sounds like dad life right there.
yeah, last hour and a half has just been insane going, oh my gosh, like I got to get all this stuff together so we can get this thing going and get it pumped out. So, but outside of that, life is good. Weather's been amazing. Church tonight was awesome. So yeah, man, life is good. Life is really, really good. So,
You know what's can I give you a really awesome thing and then a really bad thing?
yeah,
Or
okay.
maybe actually vice versa. Bad thing, then good thing.
I guess, yeah, whatever.
Bad thing is Troy's not with us again tonight. So
Yeah,
sad.
Mister, I'm
Well,
trying to sell my house and there's a showing, so we can't be in the
yeah,
house.
like how
Yeah.
dare he have valid reasons?
Yeah, but let's be real. There's no one looking at his house at 9:30 at night. He's tired and didn't want to pod. Like, I'll throw him under the bus. I ain't scared. I'll do it.
okay. Yeah, I mean that's also fair. I'm not getting in the middle of y'all's weird bro marriage, but anyways, the good news: the arena passed, the Thunder Arena passed, and they apparently will.
Well, it's not.
Tentatively, it's pretty much passed.
It's past like the house part. Now we all got to vote on it as a state, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the thing.
which what the cool thing was, the team will be here at least through 2025, or not? Sorry, 2025, 2050. Sorry,
Yes. Well
2050.
into 2050. Yeah, that's correct. So, yeah, if you don't know, state senate, all the different things and, committees and whatnot it's got to go through. They have proposed now a bill to continue the MAPS project sales tax. So, in other words, it's not increasing taxes, it's using the taxes that we're already paying to fund a $900 million arena for Oklahoma City. And yes, once that arena is built, there is a 25-year commitment from the Thunder ownership to keep the Thunder here in Oklahoma City for another 25 years. And the plan would be, if it passes in December, that it would be built and ready for the 2028 season, if not sooner. But if you go 2028, then the team is here through 2053,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like when you think about that, Logan would be 40. My daughter, my oldest daughter, would be 44 years old.
Yeah, well, we're probably both gonna be dead, so it's fine. No, yeah, that's wild, dude. It's freaking crazy, man. I don't know. It's just weird because it's like how do I say it? It's like even though the Thunder they've been in what Oklahoma City for
Oh
10,
man, that's a
15 years
great
now.
question. Yeah, it's been a minute.
But it's like it's still like that. Like when I saw that, I was like, dude, like Oklahoma legitimately is a pro sports town now. Like,
Yeah,
we were talking about a little bit when I was in town that there's been some rumors. I don't about like hockey teams and things like that. Um, I think it would be pretty cool to see something like that. Like I said, Oklahoma's just like that's what people like have to understand. Oklahoma's a sports state, right? Like
yeah.
people don't realize how much people really love like people like softball. Like, when you
Mm-hmm.
go watch the Women's College World Series, dude, like that stadium's packed, especially when
Yeah,
OU's there. But I mean, it's like basketball is a big thing. Like I said, it's just a crazy the amount of sports is there and like the passion of the people there. It's not going to be the same size market as other places, but dude, it's for its size, you're going to get so much more passion out of
yeah.
the population than you will other places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually got to hear some of David Holt or Mayor Holt on golly, I think it was on the franchise today, and he talked about there have been some, he's been asked a lot about NHL and things like that. And that's so I mean, obviously it's on his radar and he kind of skirted the issue. And the other thing is, I believe it's 2028 that the Olympics are coming to the United States. And Oklahoma City is very much in talks to be hosting a bunch of the water sports at the
That's
downtown
a
river
mhm.
area thing. And so they asked him about that, and he's like, I'm not allowed to comment on it at this time, which tells you they are deep in those discussions. And so it's just cool, man. It's cool to think about the chance that Oklahoma City could even possibly be able to contain an NHL and NBA
Well,
franchise here. And then we might also be hosting some Olympic, sports here as well. It's just super, super cool.
yeah, and like I think that people NHL is actually a lot of fun. If you like football, like I don't, again, I'm not like an like I'm not a hockey expert by any stretch. But dude, like if you want to see some like grown men just smash into each other and like, but also have incredible athletic skill, dude, hockey's pretty fun. So
Yeah,
be cool to see
absolutely.
that. And it's picking up a lot of traction. That's what I was even seeing. I read an article the other day that was like saying how before it was like the northern states, like New York and like
Uh-huh.
obviously all of Canada, like it's always been popular because it's colder and all that. But now it's like it's picking up track. Like down here in Florida, dude, people are like pretty rabid actually
Yeah.
about it down
Yeah.
here in Florida. And so it's pretty interesting to see all that transpire and like they're talking about expansion teams and all that. So, anyways, it's cool stuff. It'd be awesome if Oklahoma City was one of the teams to or one of the cities, sorry, to get a team.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be. So, well, let's we've talked a little arena, which is I think very, very good news. And by the way, if you are a Oklahoma resident, December 12th, if you are Oklahoma resident, December 12th is the vote date for this to pass. So
Right.
get out, vote, put it through. Let's continue, as Mayor Holt said today, let's continue to be a big league city and make it happen. Moving to the negative news, I guess, a little bit of the day. I don't know if negative's not the right word. Drama, the soap opera, the whatever it is, but Lincoln Riley apparently was on another interview this week, and I don't remember who it was. And I don't really care.
Can I
But
can I just say like I can't wait for somebody to write grapes of wrath too, because like it's where we're at right now. Like Oklahomans and Californians hating each other. You know what I mean?
oh my gosh,
Because
yeah,
like think about it. Like you mentioned it before the pod, but like there's very much the Kevin Durant going in Golden State, and then
yeah,
now we have Lincoln going to California. And the funny thing, here's a parallel that is driving me mad.
yeah,
The fact that all both those fan bases were like, oh, they just can't keep, like Oklahoma fans can't keep you know, Kevin Durant or Lincoln Riley out of their mouths. Like that's just all they can talk about. That's all they think about. And then he goes around and keeps dragging Oklahoma back into it.
Yeah. And what was interesting, again, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched the little section that everybody's focused on, right? But the interviewer starts spitting all these facts. So it was obvious that the Lincoln Riley camp gave the interviewer this information in order for them to talk about in the interview. Because if you don't know, Lincoln Riley said in this interview, after led there by the interviewer, so by the way, like people were like breaking in your house. He's like, yeah, multiple. Actually, a lot of people tried to break into our home after a few days after all the news came out. And then that turned into him getting packages mailed to his house. And then it turned into the interviewer talking about his 9-year-old daughter getting phone calls and text messages and, the death threats and all stuff. Now, look, I also want to say Lincoln Riley said, look, 95% of all fan bases are great and they're incredible and they're good at Oklahoma, anywhere else. But then there's always a group that takes it too far, and this went too far. He ended the interview by saying this: after all this thing took place, we knew we had to get, by his words, HE double hockey sticks out of Oklahoma as fast as we possibly could because we never felt safe. And I'm just like, okay, man, like,
Like
you know,
okay, here's my thing. For one, everybody up until all that went down, everybody was ready to go to war for Lincoln. That's how Oklahomans are,
yep,
right? Like it's Oklahoma versus the world. If you're with us, we'll fight to the. I always tell people it's like a whole state of big brothers and little brothers, right? Like we didn't really have like that same necessarily like, normal brother relationship or whatever. But it's at the
mm-hmm.
same time, it's like if you pick on me, it's fine. But if
Right,
somebody else comes over and picks on me, by God, you're gonna roll them up like a cheap yoga mat,
yeah,
right? And that's how it is as an Oklahoman, right? Like that's what I tell people is like that's the whole state's a very tight knit community. So it's like things like that. Like when he says stuff like that, I'm like, dude, you're stupid. Like there's no world. Like even like Mike Gundy, right? Like we're OU fans, right?
yep,
If somebody was legitimately threatening Mike Gundy's life, and like there was a group of people that came from Texas or whatever, right? And we're threatening Mike Gundy's life, I guarantee you there would be OU fans that'd be there, be like, yo, no, you're not messing with him. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like that's just how it is.
Yep,
So absolutely absurd. Lincoln Riley needs to. He's buying into. He's doing the exact same thing Colin Coward's doing, right? Like he's just saying stuff to stir the pot because he knows that the OU fan base is so rabid. We're so active on Twitter. We're so active on pretty much everything. We're one of the most active fan bases in any media format, pretty much, right? And so he's trying to get those clicks. That's all it is. That's all that is.
yeah,
That's just generating clicks for Lincoln Riley.
yeah. Well, so here's where I'm at with all of it. I have no doubt he got death threats. I have no doubt.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that,
sure,
that,
sure.
like, and let's be clear, I have no doubt that pretty much every single college football coach in America gets death threats while they're still coaching at the place that they're coaching at, right? Like,
Right.
now that's not okay. That is wrong. It is stupid. It is terrible. Okay. I have no doubt that if he really gave his 9-year-old daughter a cell phone and she's texting with people that are 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, I have no doubt that their little friends went to their teenage brother or sister, whoever, and went, you have Lincoln Riley daughter's cell phone number? And they used that in the transition and probably sent and said and did and whatnot, right? Like, have no doubt about any of that. Okay. And all of that is wrong. I would be furious if I was a father and someone did that to my 9-year-old kid. Like, that's all true. Here's where all my problems come with it. Number one, like I said at the very start, if you go watch the interview, it is very clear that he gave the interviewer all that information prior to said interview. Okay. So it's not hard to watch the interview and see that this has been orchestrated by Lincoln's camp.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
Why? Like
Because,
it goes back to the Kevin Durant stuff. We're done. Yes, we're all mad. Yes, we all hate you. Quit talking about us, and you will quit riling up all these people that are frustrated with you being gone. It's been a year and a half. move on and talk USC, quit giving a interviewer information about Oklahoma and trying to spin it to a negative. That's number one. Number two, it has already been proof checked by George Stoya and other local reporters. There was zero reports at either of the addresses that Lincoln Riley owned, because he owned 2 homes in Oklahoma City, Norman area. Neither have any reports of break-ins. And yet he says a lot of people were trying to break into our home. There's no report of a break-in whatsoever. There's no reports of anything going on that way. The only report was they asked for extra security at the home, which I'm sure is in rebuttal to people being stupid. And honestly, right, it's probably a normal policy procedure thing when somebody's transitioning out of a job because they know that fans are stupid, right?
Yeah, I mean, like,
there's that. And so last thing, and I'll be done with my rant. Then he ends it with, we were going to let our daughters finish this, or let our daughter finish the semester because the semester was so close to being over, but we knew we had to get out of there as fast as possible. Lincoln, you were on a plane leaving like 18 hours after the Bedlam game with your family and with half the staff. Like, you went out house shopping during the Baylor game week. Like, you were not trying to slow roll getting to California, and to make it sound like you were like genuinely terrified for your life and leaving is just a joke. It's just a joke. Well, and I don't know, man. I just don't get it at all.
I'm gonna give a couple of points and we can move on to the next thing, because I don't want to give that man any more airtime than he deserves, which we already have. But for one, like you said, this was all predetermined. We talked about this ad nauseum when this all happened. Yep. Nobody in Oklahoma probably would have cared. Like, people would have been hurt. There's always gonna, like you said, there's gonna be that percentage of a fan base. There's literally millions of Sooner faithful. There's gonna be bad apples. That happens. But the fact that he came out after Bedlam, after a demoralizing loss, I'm currently the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. When asked about the LSU job, which
not currently, I am the coach of Oklahoma, and I am not taking the LSU job. Remember,
right? Very misdirecting, right, and all this stuff. So it's like, you kind of built the bonfire. Like basically what he did was he went out, built a giant bonfire, poured gasoline all over it, left a box of matches and, torches and everything else, and then walked away and said, light it on fire, and then now is mad that there's a fire, right? Yeah. Like, that's kind of what he did. Like, he built this up to be this way. Yeah. So I don't feel any sorrow in the sense of people being mad. Now, let me clarify. Going and making death threats and breaking, if there was somebody doing that's obviously way too far. But him trying to act like people shouldn't be upset, like how it went down, I'm like, bro, like, let's grow up. Let's grow up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people have a right to be upset with you. There's no right. They have no right to make threats of violence towards you or your family,
or to text your daughter's phone. Like, let's just be clear. Like, that's not right.
But again, like you said, you running from the state because that's so crazy. That's absolutely beyond me. The other thing that I want to say is that he is just, like I said before, he is building this up to make this monster out of Oklahoma. And I think it's funny because I feel like the timing, really, when I think about it, is like kind of fits, right? Because they lost out on Tatum. There's been a bunch of other recruits that USC's lost out on, not only to Oklahoma, but others. Like, it seems like maybe some of his recruiting steam is maybe falling a little bit, right? Because their defense has not looked good at USC,
right?
Again this year, right? Like, they've had, I mean, they let San Diego State hang however many points on them, right? Like, they just have not, even when they've like had it's the same, it's the exact same thing, like the same product as last season, right? Where a team will march down the field and then the quarterback for that offense throws a terrible pick. And it's more that the quarterback made a horrible throw than it is that there's some glorious defense, right? And they just get lucky. And it's like, and we said it last season, the second they play somebody good, a la Utah, they're going to get dog walked. And they did.
Right.
So anyway, Lincoln Riley, keep Oklahoma out of your mouth, dude. Shut up. Nobody cares. Go live in your
just very quickly. And again, we are not insiders or journalists. I don't know inside nothing. Okay. But we did follow Lincoln enough to kind of know his methodology, right?
Right.
And again, the narrative of him leaving, I think that even he was like a lot like with Kevin Durant. He was so shocked at how it really turned negative on him, right? Like I think he bailed out and left. And look, we all know he announced when he was leaving when he did and the way he did because the very next day was in-home visits. And there's a 1 week window to do those in-home visits. And he wanted to make sure he was in the home of all those high flight recruits. Malik Brown, who, by the way, is no longer at USC, apparently, Malik Nelson or Malachi Nelson, et cetera, et cetera. So we know he did that. We know that he may have even already talked to those recruits about leaving because we know he already had a house in principle signed on, again, the week of the Baylor game. So that part was already done. Here's what I believe. I think that he has lost on a lot of recruits, including to Oregon. And by the way, Dan Lanning is a straight up UFC fighter when it comes to recruiting. He will use anything. Do you not think that all those coaches are going, hey, do you really want to go play for a guy that's telling you he loves USC? And then he might go coach a game and wake up at 3 a.m. to a new job offer for more money for a higher class place and make the decision in 6 hours to leave, because that's what Lincoln told everybody. Remember that?
Yeah.
He's the one who put out there, I made this decision in 4 hours, right? So that leaves the room for a parent to go, how do I not know that you're going to do that again? And the reason he built that narrative was because everybody knew he was shopping this job from the Baylor game forward, and everybody was going to start putting the pieces together. So he was covering his tracks because those conversations are illegal to have during the season. So he's built a narrative, and now he's trying to make it look like he made the decision and left as fast as he did because he was terrified for his life and for his family. That's why he did it, to cover that all up.
And like we've talked about this, you know, I just think I think you're dead on with that, and I think a lot of it is we've talked about how he has USC. Like I said, I give him another season of getting some support, right? I think even maybe when Caleb leaves, unless Malachi comes in and starts lighting it up, I think a lot of people are going to stop dumping money in that program. You know, right now they have a generational talent. I don't care what you think of Caleb Williams, the dude can ball. He makes
unreal,
throws.
man.
He literally makes throws where I'm like, dude, he's not even human, right? But the thing with LA is they have no patience for sports, none.
No, it's
Right?
got to be top flight or it's not worth their time.
Look at every franchise outside of the Lakers. They have a down year and nobody cares.
Yep.
Right. The Anaheim Angels have Mike Trout and Otani, the two of the best players in baseball. Should be great, and that team doesn't care. Nobody in that town cares because but they're not in the world. They're not in the hunt for the playoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the Rams, the Chargers, whatever. Anyway, like they have the most state of the art stadium. Nobody cares. It's gonna be the same. Why do you think it's not gonna be the same at USC? Right? Like right now, he's the hotness. He came in 2 or 3 years. If they have one bad season, if somebody comes in and isn't lighting the world on fire like Caleb Williams is, people are going to stop supporting. So I don't see Lincoln being there long. It's fine. It's whatever. Let's move on. Let's get to Tulsa. Let's talk about OU football.
Let's talk about some OU football, shall we? So let's talk about some Tulsa. So first, let's start with injuries. And I think the biggest news that came out of Brent Venable's press conference was obviously Dasan McCullough did not play on Saturday. You and I were at the game, and we made notes that Dasan was suited up, but he did not go through anything warm-up wise. So it was kind of a smoke screen, really, to put him in a uniform because it was pretty clear he wasn't touching that field on Saturday. So he is, as Brent Venable said, hopeful for Saturday. And then he also mentioned that Harrington was banged up. That was his word. He's banged up. Really kind of felt like he might not play on Saturday, that they were very much questioning that. And I would still put Drake Stoops. I know he played. I know he had catches. You and I noticed though the one he made on the east sideline when he got tackled pretty hard, he immediately came up rotating that shoulder that is injured. And so again, if you don't know, they haven't said this specifically, but it very much seems as though he has sprained his AC joint. If you don't know what that means, it just means that your shoulder is in a ton of pain all the time. Every hit he takes is going to flare that pain through the roof. And if he sprains it more or inflames it more, the pain is only going to increase. So, again, I don't even know why they played him on Saturday, to
Yeah.
be honest, outside of Drake's just saying, I'm going to play and I don't care. He does not need to play this Saturday if that shoulder is sore at all, in my opinion. I don't think any of these guys should play on Saturday. So that's the kind of the
But they got to
injury.
put some guys. They got to put some guys out there, dude.
We're going to talk about that. Let's go over Tulsa very quickly. I'm going to be honest. Did not get a chance to do film session like we usually try to do to watch, but here's kind of what we have just noticed through highlights and through stats. Tulsa's run game is much better than its passing game. And so OU should be handle this. They do have 3 interceptions to 1 fumble so far on the year. They are averaging 415 yards per game, with 214 of that being rushing yards. They actually had a game where they had well over 260 in rushing. They have not played any. They've played one really bad opponent, one really good, because they played Washington last week and lost 42-10. And the 10 didn't arrive until very, very, very late in the fourth quarter when Washington was playing all of its backups. This is not a great football team. The stadium is sold out, which also tells you it's going to be a lot of OU fans because they average about a third capacity. And so for them to be sold out, there's going to be a lot of red in there. So any just thoughts overall on Tulsa? I know you got to watch a few highlights you said today.
Yeah, I
Any
mean, I
thoughts
watch.
or
Yeah, so I watched some highlights and it was just like game highlights. So it wasn't even, Tulsa specific highlights. And there wasn't a lot of Tulsa in there, besides them getting, run over or whatever. I mean, they're just a down year. Like, I think it was last year and the year before, even they were a pretty good team.
Mhm.
But a lot of those guys, they had a lot of guys go to the draft or transfer out. They had that one guy that was that last year they had the guy that was like made like a run at the like was it Butkus or something that was on like the finalist list, I think.
Yeah. Golly, was that last year or the year before? All the years run. But yes, they
Yeah.
had a guy. He ended up I think he was top 3 or won like the defensive player of the year in college football award.
Yeah.
He was a
Yeah. So
finalist for that.
but like I said, they've had some talent, but you can tell this is just one of those years that, a program like Tulsa, it's like they have those years where they come up and then they have 3 or 4 years that they're down. And so that's kind of what it feels like right now. I mean, um, but yeah, I mean, the one thing that did stand out to me is like I do think that they have a couple of athletes in the skill position. But it feels like they're just really raw. But it's one of those things that, again, this is a team that you could give up a big play because of that raw athleticism, right?
Right.
So there will be some stuff to watch out for. But like you said, this is not a great team.
Yeah.
So
The other thing to watch in this game, I think the thing that will potentially expose some of OU's weaknesses and those kinds of things is you do have 2 staff members at Tulsa that are former co-workers of Brent Venables, if you will. You have Dominic Franks, who is on staff
right.
there, so he obviously knows how Brent's mind works, how Brent sees the game, those kinds of things, and I think that always lends a help to that team, right? Like he's going to have a concept for how Brent likes to disguise, how Brent likes to bracket, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's going to be big. And then obviously Kevin Wilson is the head coach, who is the mastermind behind one of the greatest offenses in college football history, with Sam Bradford and crew that went to a national championship. And Brent's reaction today not today, Tuesday during his press conference when asked about, we heard that you and Kevin used to have a pretty good rivalry during practice, and Brent just got a big smile and he goes, we're both very passionate about what we do. And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, those are some knockdown dragons.
Well, and that's even Lebby. They asked Lebby about it, and Lebby was like, "Oh, he's like, I know that guy. He's like, I've spent a lot of time with that guy."
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
you
and
know,
and Gabe Eichert has talked about on his podcast. He's like, I've never been cussed or called as many things as I've ever been called than I was by Kevin Wilson. He was
Yeah.
like, Kevin Wilson was
Kevin Wilson is like, as far as,
brutal.
yeah, he's like the Venables in that sense. He's like the Venables version of an offensive coach, right? Like he's going to be
Yes.
in your face screaming. So yeah, there is a little bit, and there's a lot of talk about how they wanted Dominique to come to
Yes.
OU when Brent got here, and there's some weird rules I know and things like that. Um, but it's not one of those things. Dominique obviously still loves OU, but he's at Tulsa, so
Yeah.
he's gonna give him every shot he can to win. So it's gonna be interesting. I will be interested to see how some of those storylines play out.
Sure. Well, based on what you've seen from this team last week, as you've thought about the SMU game more and you look ahead to this week, maybe what are three things that you're looking for in this game, Jared?
Well, I think the first thing is going to be I'll start with low hanging fruit. I want to see the defensive line, and I want to see how they handle because I think Tulsa's offensive line is maybe even it's as worse or maybe worse than even Arkansas State. I think it's some in the passing game, I should say, in pass protection. But I want to see the defensive line just get after it. You know what I mean? I want to see them continue to build upon what they've done the first two games.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see them get penetration. I want to see them close up holes. I want to see them just be dominant. And they should be. One thing that I did find interesting on the all access is they had a huge they have a drill where they that they were like it was like it looked like again it's very condensed, but it looked like they spent a good amount of time practicing subbing in and subbing out guys
Mm,
on the defense.
interesting.
And so I think that may be something we see all season. I mean, it could have been that it was so hot for the SMU game because it was really, really hot that first, half of the game.
Yeah.
But still, I want to see, are we going to have some depth? Are we going to continue to see, I don't even know. I don't remember what the stats were for like snap count, but it's like, are we going to see Kobe? Are we going to see, a good helping of Kenai Walker, some of those guys that we've all been kind of drilling to see more of,
Mm-hmm.
Kip Lewis, all those guys, right? I want to see if we see a lot of them, not just in garbage time, right?
Yes.
And see if we see them actually get in a situation where they need to make plays.
Yeah.
Um, so that's I guess my number two thing. And then the third thing is I want to see Dylan Gabriel take this game to try to see the middle of the field. Like I want people I don't want to seem like I'm hating on Dylan Gabriel because I really do wish
Oh,
him. Obviously, I want him to be
you hate
successful.
Dylan Gabriel. You
Oh
hate
my
him
god,
with a passion. It's so clear. God, you
yeah,
just want him to be benched. I mean, why don't you just go ahead and start chanting Jackson Arnold right now?
JFA, JFA. No, I just want him to be able to. This should be a game where they should be able to again do what they want to do. They should be able to out um, athlete them, and they should be able to have open looks across the middle of the field. And I guess that kind of, and I guess the second half of that is I want to see Levy, dude, take the ball and throw it down the field, bro. Take the ball and throw it. Like does I the RPO was great, and I loved seeing that we got guys wide open on that. But I want to see you take the top off.
Yeah.
I don't want to see one safety deep and us acting like they've got 11 guys standing down the field. That's
Yeah.
how it felt. So yeah, I just want to see those things. I want to see the passing game, I guess is how I should say
Yeah.
that. I really want to see how that because that was really when you look at the SMU game and after I really thought about it more, it's like that was, I mean, it was clear it was like that was where we were lacking and we were just not, a lot of it was
Mm-hmm.
play calling, we can say that. But again, a lot of it was just not executing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. This is going to be your game and people need to realize right after this, we go into Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is looking like a very that's going to not be like I would put Cincinnati in like those West Virginia teams that are real scrappy, or Kansas State even,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you have to come and bring your A game or they're going to knock you out. That's how they look so far this season. So
Cincinnati will be maybe the second or third best defensive front we'll see all season, but we'll get to that when we play them. So
yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. This is your last game before you start to get to your meat of your schedule because you're not far from Texas to start really trying to dial things in. If you're going to do some experimentation, you're going to try some different, packages of players, do it now. So that's what I want to see is I want to see the passing game get lit up. So
Yeah.
anyways, what's your
Very
give
good.
me your three?
Well, first of all, overall, I think this game should be a blowout. And that's just based on yet again, the more I've thought about the SMU game, they had to close that game out late, but they still won handily and they played like trash. And I'm talking guys that we believe in and we know and we have seen do good things play like the coaching was bad,
Mm-hmm.
drop passes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this game is going to play game. But one of those areas that played really bad, which an interview I loved watching this week was the post game interview with Cade Matower. And
Mm-hmm.
being asked about the game, he was not pleased with how the offensive line played at all and was very clear. We played like trash actually against Arkansas State. We just got away with it. And last week we tried to play like trash and we almost got our butts kicked we did get our butts kicked a lot of that game because we're not doing the things that we're supposed to do. We need to be doing the things we are supposed to do against who we're playing, regardless of their talent level. He said our pad level was bad, our feet were bad, our hands were bad, our
Mm-hmm.
timing. I mean, he was very
Well,
critical.
can I give you like a quick? Just I know that you're talking about Cayman Tower, but I do want to highlight something from the All Access real quick this
Uh-huh.
week's. Towie Walker's. I thought it was funny. It was like because they're talking obviously about the Arkansas State game, and he was like, "Yeah, we played okay, but we need to be a lot better." He's like, "That's not the standard at Oklahoma," and he's like, "Oklahoma has a lot of, we have a long history of great running backs and great running back performances, and we didn't meet that." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Really? When you think about that think about the mind shift and the culture change of going from we hung 70 on a team
Yeah.
and we're still saying we didn't do good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
anyway, those are the things like put it in my right in my veins, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an example of the culture change, right? It was just 6 months ago that Spencer Rattler was like, I still don't understand to this day why anybody was upset with my play. We were 4-0.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you were 4-0 playing really poorly, right? Like, I mean, that's the mindset difference like you're talking about. So anyways, but this O-line's got to play well. Like, this is a defensive line. You should dominate. And like I said, from week 1 against Arkansas State, too many blocking a guy for a second and a half and the whistle's not blown and guys literally just stopping in the middle of the play to look around and see what's happening. No, bury your guy. Like, make the standard burying your guy every single play. Make that the thing. Putting your hands where you're supposed, playing hard, playing physical, playing with an edge. This O-line needs to play well because you should. I think that this offensive line is average. They are playing a team that's not any good, so they should look great if they're truly an average offensive line. That's number one. Number two, I want to see the young and injured guys play a lot this week. Like you mentioned, Kobe, Kip, RSJ, I want to see on the field a lot this week. If Josiah Wagner is healthy, I want him on the field a lot. If Kendall Dolby has not been playing because he's been injured, I want to see him play a lot this week. I want to see those guys. I want to see Kelvin Gilliam in the game a lot. I want to see PJ in the game a lot this week. I don't want to hear this crap anymore about we got to play young guys if they're capable. And then like last week, we're not really playing young guys, other than defensive tackle. Like, spare me with that, man. Like, put Kobe McKenzie in for more than 2 reps. Like, I'm sorry, put him on the field for more than 2 reps. I like what they've done a little bit with Kenai Walker. Keep that up. But like, we've seen enough of all the reps. Peyton Bowen needs to be on the field a lot this game, right?
Right.
So I really want to see that. And speaking of that, with the injuries, this lends you to play those young guys. I don't know why you wouldn't play Reggie Pearson at the Cheetah and
Right.
let Deshaun and Justin rest. And I'm putting Peyton Bowen back at the deep safety. Him and
Yep.
Bowman together and play him. And then RSJ is your rotation guy. Those guys, they're rotating. Whoever goes out goes, like they've talked about Bowen playing Cheetah. Okay, he goes to Cheetah. Pearson gets his rest. And now you bring RSJ in, right? And then you just keep that rotation going all day long. That's what they should be doing. And then the last is I need to see Jeff Lebby call a good game. I need to see him really genuinely call a good game, not just fully athlete people. I want to see a well called game. We saw one in week one. I thought his play calling was aggressive and good in week one, but they also were just 1,000 times better than that team. I want to see you call a good game that we feel good about by the end.
Can I give you kind of a like an ironic thing?
Yes.
He needs to call a game like Kevin Wilson did.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Wilson, it didn't matter if you were lining up against Kansas or Southern West Texas Baptist State
Yep.
University or Texas or whoever, he called that game the same. You
Yep.
know, obviously, like we got to have 70 points or whatever. You can, start running the ball. But it was like, there was no Kevin Wilson. We're up 2 touchdowns. I'm going to start being conservative.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I think,
and within that, sorry, I'm going back to my injured and young guys. Do not put freaking Jackson Arnold in the game to run QB power.
yeah,
Don't do it. You can run him on a
I'm,
zone read. You can do it like you said. Put him in a situation when you're up 17 points early in the game and let him throw a bubble. Let him throw an RPO. Let him run some freaking offense while this game is still in balance. That's how you get him ready for what's coming down the pike. You don't put a 180-pound quarterback in and run the bulldozer. You just don't do
yeah.
it.
And I remember there was another pod that came up with a jackhammer, which is actually a pretty good name. I'll give them
That's
that.
actually, yeah, that was pretty good.
But,
They beat
but,
us to that one. Gah.
but at the exact same time, like you said, it doesn't fit. Like if you want to, if QB power is a part of that package, so to speak, okay.
That
Like,
Davis Bevel needs to do that, not him.
well, Davis Bevel, they might not
Well,
be
I
running
know,
for a
but
while,
I'm just
but
saying, like, that's
yeah,
the guy.
yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? If a QB up the middle is a part of that package, if that's one of the calls, great. But don't run it 7 times in a game and then be like, I don't know why we're not getting any yardage. Anyway, it's just absurd. But yeah, I mean, there's actually, this is a, like I said, this is a sneaky good game to watch. By the way, weird that it's at 2:30. I guess all of our other games, we've already had a 5 p.m. kickoff and a 2:30 kickoff. So now every other game is going to be 11. I can't wait for that. At least I'm in Florida now, so it's noon, so maybe that makes it a little better. I don't
Right.
know. But yeah, and here's another thing I want to get real quick, just because it popped into my mind. Well, before this season started, we talked about how OU is playing all the worst teams, and we even talked about like, well, Cincinnati's not going to be good because Fickle left and all that, all this stuff and all they had a lot of guys leave. I would almost argue that right now, if you look who's on OU's schedule, the team so far, it's very early in the season, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying for sure. I would say they may have to play the top of the Big 12.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, and I know this makes everybody mad, but Texas is the cream of the crop.
Yep.
Cincinnati is definitely in that mix.
Kansas
Kansas
State.
State is 100%, which I don't. This is so bad. This is why we are just okay. We don't play Kansas State this year, though.
We don't.
I don't believe we do. Maybe I'm crazy. Am I nuts? Am I forgetting?
Well, that's a different
I've
question.
looked
And
at the
yes, you
stinking
are.
SEC stuff
Okay,
so
so
much.
here's who we play. We play Tulsa, obviously,
Right.
Cincinnati, Iowa State. So Cincinnati's legit so
Yep.
far, it seems. Iowa
Yep.
State, not so
Yeah.
much. Texas, cream of the crop.
Yep.
UCF has looked like, they
They've
looked good
looked
week
good.
1. Week 2, their offense did not look good.
Right. But even so, they've shown that they can be capable in one of their
Yeah.
2 games.
And that there's going to be a little bit, people are going to build that up with the whole Levy and Dylan
Yes.
Gabriel thing. Kansas, who's I would say is it's
They're,
Kansas, but it's like they look like that. They're one of those
this
teams that,
is not the, but again, this is Kansas is the opposite of what Texas has been the last 10 years, right? They
oh
went
yeah.
to a national title in 2008 and they're Texas. They're really good. No, they're not. They haven't been good in a long time. Kansas terrible forever. This is not the same Kansas team we were
What's their
talking about 3
quarterback's
years
name? What's their quarterback's name?
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yep.
Dude, that kid looks is
He's a
really good,
baller. He's a
really, really good.
baller.
And he's going to give you everything he's got. So
Yeah.
Kansas is not just a walkthrough game
No.
anymore.
No.
Oklahoma State, I know people are going to get mad at me about this. Oklahoma State, it's for them, that's their Super Bowl. So
Yep.
they are going to show up and want to beat Oklahoma, especially being the last Bedlam game, yada, yada, yada. That's going to have a whole lot of extra electricity. So I'm tired of everybody saying Oklahoma State looks terrible and we're going to dog walk them. We could, or it could be a game that
Yeah.
who knows what happens. It's Bedlam. That's why it's called that. West Virginia has not looked any good.
No.
BYU is a team that I would argue is like kind of
Well, and you're playing them on the road.
right. So but BYU's that team, especially like you said, being in BYU, being at BYU, and all that. BYU is just a team again that's just not I would say middle of the road in the Big 12 right now,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just a team that has that weird. They beat somebody that they shouldn't. And then
Yeah.
you have TCU, who I still feel is like an unknown quantity. So it's like really when you look at that schedule now, I wouldn't say necessarily play the top, but you know what I mean? Like it looks a lot tougher than it did
Well,
because
yeah.
before the season started, it was like really the only teams we're talking about were Texas and TCU,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
agree.
now it's
Yes.
like, it's like what I'm saying. It's kind of the Big 12 is looking vastly different than what we thought
Yes.
coming into the season.
Well,
So
and that's what, it's so funny because Cincinnati for me has been that one team, especially that everybody's like, well, Luke Fickle's gone. This person's gone. It's going to be terrible. It's like, dude, Luke Fickle was there a long time. And
yeah,
Luke Fickle built a culture. So when you leave, it's a lot like we've talked to, like OU fans when Bob left go, well, Lincoln was the benefit of Bob's culture. Okay, well, guess what? Luke Fickle left. So guess what? The next coach is the beneficiary of his culture that he built there. That team ain't used to losing.
well,
That's not their culture. They're
it's
gonna
it's
play nasty.
it's the same thing. It's kind of funny because it goes the same way with negative, right? Like Florida State had to fight off. We talked about having to fight off the effects of Jimbo,
Yes.
or Urban Meyer at all the schools. Ohio State is like the outlier in that, right? But like everywhere
Mm-hmm.
he's gone, fallen to pieces after he's left, aside from Ohio State. And even then, I would say like they had some weird issues, right? Like,
Yes, they did for a
um,
minute.
so yeah, so it's the same thing. So there's a carryover. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, Tulsa gonna be a good game to watch. I think there's a lot to learn about this team.
Yes.
And I guess like that's the overarching thing is I think we could both say we want to see the mentality. It's easy to
Yeah.
get up in front of a mic and say, well, we want to do better. Do better.
Yeah.
Go actually
Yeah.
show you're going to do better. So
Yeah.
but I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this weekend. So yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it should be a good one. And again, hopefully they'll play some young guys, give them a chance. Before we close this thing out, one other thing we do that's not Oklahoma sports, but we've all fell in love with and we're all about. Did you watch episode 1 of Welcome to Wrexham yet, Jared?
Yes, I swear if you don't tag Van Cindy Reynolds on Twitter when you post this, my Kylo agrees. I'm going to unfollow the Just Okay Sports account. No, dude, it's really, really good, by the way. The show, I
Yeah.
feel like this season, it's only obviously the one. I think next week we get 2 episodes, is what I
I
saw on
was
my
trying to look
Hulu.
at the schedule and I'm not sure, but yes, there were definitely like 2 already primed, like as next up, so
I'm sorry that
um,
my dog is losing his mind right now. Yeah, but it said, I think mine said that September 20th, there's episode 2 and 3 are both coming out, is what I
nice.
thought. So, but yeah, the first episode was really good. It was the way they opened, I thought was hilarious. Where he
Yes.
was like, they just like sat there quiet. Then he was like, yeah, so the King of England called, and like they showed that whole deal, and that was pretty wild. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's such a cool thing. And what's funny about it is it's like they were even talking about it was I think it was at the beginning. Probably my favorite part was like they're interviewing that guy that runs like the food stand or something. I don't remember what all he
Yes.
does. And like the dude walks in and is like, hey, I'm here like Wrexham, and like talk to him. And he's like, oh yeah, you gotta go across the street or whatever. And he's like, Americans, and there was
Yeah.
like, because there was he's like, we got Americans in here all the time. I have to send them across the street like every
Shoot.
day. And like I was just like dying. I was like, bro, like Wrexham is now like a tourist hub for
Well,
Americans,
people from Australia and all over this stinking place to come watch, man. That was wild. To see all that stuff, dude. Like It's crazy. And then, the other side that's kind of neat is I don't know that we've really ever seen a documentary that focuses on the pressure that good owners feel,
Yeah.
because them just talking about like, man, if we don't get promoted, like we're sunk. Like this whole thing is sunk and all the money that we've dumped, like we don't know what to do next. Which I think they're overplaying that probably a little bit for the sake of the documentary. Just based on the amount of money Ryan Reynolds has, and then too, like just the fame that they've gotten through the
Well,
documentary. There's a lot of inflow of cash into that team. Let's not get it twisted. But
I thought it was pretty funny too when he was like they were talking about building I forget what the thing's called, the stands that they're rebuilding or whatever.
yes,
And
the
he's like, yeah,
cop.
that's going to be a total of like $40 million, whatever. He's like, and I don't have it. I don't know if Ryan will probably say he has it, and it's like the like the little banter they have with each other. It's
Yes.
a phenomenal documentary. I've been very much a fan of, and that's what I tell people is like anybody that hasn't seen it, I'm like, okay, you want to think that I thought that it was going to be this glory piece for Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney when I
Mm,
first like saw that it was coming out. I was like, it's going to be about them and it's going to follow them around, and like that's cool, but like, and it's really not. It's about the town of Wrexham, and
yeah.
they even say that. I love how transparent they are because they even say in this one, like they pretty much open by saying, we want to make this team a winner. We
Yep.
want to go win. We want to get them promoted as high as possible, but we also want to make this a sustainable business. Like we don't
Yes.
want to, like they're
When
not
we
trying
are
to.
dead and gone, we want this to continue, and for the sake of the city of Wrexham.
Well, and that's the thing is they're not trying to sell some fairy tale of, well, we're just going to spend as much money as we have to get them to the Premier League. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're saying like we want this to be a sustainable business. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I'm excited. I think next week, I think it's the 20th. So that's a week from today, I think is what my TV said, if I remember right.
Something like that. I'm not sure. I literally was just happening to go through my stuff on Hulu, and I went, "Oh my gosh, that's tonight," and so kicked it on, turned it on, and it's like cool because I'm still so invested in all the backstory, even though I know exactly what happens,
Yeah.
as far as all that. And by the way, the enthusiasm counter that they put in the episode.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the episode, you'll know when it comes up. But the way they describe the head coach for Wrexham is he's very enthusiastic, and
Yeah.
so they have a certain word that he uses when he's coaching the team, and they have an enthusiasm counter, and every
Yeah.
time he says it, it just starts going up. I was rolling at that. So just a neat, man. What a great story, and it's a 30 for 30 happening live. That's really what it is, and it's so cool.
Well, and it's like I said, it's the and Rob's I know drawn it a few times, but it's like, look, if you're an American, it's like even if you're a Cowboys fan, you hate the Eagles. It's like you can understand how Philadelphia fans are or teams like that, right? Where it's like this entire town's identity, or Boston and the Patriots or whatever, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's their identity, and that's what it is to this team. It's like, could you imagine if you know the Red Sox were got demoted all the way to a double A team or whatever? That's like basically what this
Right.
is, right? Like it's this whole town's identity. It's not as big of a town, obviously, but it's just a great series.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore it. So
Well, and the last thing, just as an update on Wrexham, by the way, in League Two, which is what they are in now, there are 24 teams in said league of League Two. Wrexham is number 7 in the league currently with a last 5 games of a win, win, draw, draw, win. So,
well, and they played I think their first like three or four, or there was like 3 or 4 games in there. I don't even know if he's actually, I think he's back. Mullen is who's their star player.
was hurt.
Was hurt because he got, and that was we hadn't even talked about that. I don't know if you watched, did you watch that match when they played? Was it
Yeah,
Chelsea or
it was a
Manchester?
very dirty's not the right word. It's one of those things that in a soccer match that you can do that's so uncalled for and just
Well,
not
like
necessary, and
I
it puts
obviously
people in harm's way.
I'm not a soccer expert either. Like I've been into soccer. Like I've watched the World Cups and stuff, and like in the last couple of years, I've got to where I'd like to watch it. But like the
Yeah.
way somebody that was much more versed in it said was like, for one, in an exhibition match, that's really uncalled for. And they said even in a
Right.
competitive match, that's like that's one of those on the hairy edge of where people are not going to be happy you did it. Like
Yeah.
you may not get kicked out of the game or something, but they're not going to be happy you did it. So the fact that having an exhibition match is kind of like makes it 10 times worse. So, but anyway.
Yeah. It did. And they had also been in the United States for like a month doing all
Yeah.
their little games. So, you know, when you start talking about travel and stuff, right? You hear teams say like when Miami has to travel to Seattle to play a game, like they're at a massive disadvantage. Well, they were in the United States for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then fly back over to Wales and to Europe. Time changes and all the different that you don't have your best player. I mean, so
Well,
they
and then
started
Mullen,
rough.
well, and Mullen couldn't travel because he had a punctured lung or a
Yeah,
collapsed lung or whatever. So he
right.
couldn't travel. He couldn't fly until that was healed.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And so those early matches that they're losing without all that just set them back quite a ways. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
they're bouncing back. They're playing really well right now. They're in a good groove. So we'll see. But I don't think any soccer fan or not, I don't think any of us that follow Wrexham now thought, oh, you know, they're going to win League Two and go straight to League Three. You know,
Well, League One.
or League One right after they just got promoted for the first time in 15 years. But for them to be in the top, like they're actually tied record wise with another team at 6. So I mean, you're in the top 6 of a 24 team league that you just got promoted to. That pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's one of those things that there's still there's League One, there's still like 3 or 4 tiers they have to get to the Champions League. If that, I mean, that would be insane.
Yeah.
But it's like if they did, like that's a reality of at very best, if everything goes perfectly, that's like 10 years away. Right. So but still it's phenomenal to watch and follow. And I've been like I said, I mean it's one of those shows that I'm anxious to see every time it comes on now.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, you know what we didn't do here, Jared? We did not do score predictions for this
Oh yeah.
OU game. So, what is your
You
prediction?
know, I actually, by the way, we need to bring this back next week. We'll do this after we're out of non-conference. We got to bring back the pick 'em, where we do 5 games. We need to start
Yes,
doing
we
this.
do. Yes, we do. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I meant to prepare all that today, and my day got crazy. So we'll get it started next week with league play. But what are you predicting for OU versus Tulsa on the road in
Yeah, it's gonna
Tulsa?
be a hostile environment. I'm gonna go 66-6.
Wow, you had to go there.
The
You
devil score. The devil score 66-6.
Oh my. Well, mine is if a cameraman knocks out the drum
Oh,
major.
geez, God. For people that don't know, I like literally the 15 minutes before the game, I just kept hearing, you see that guy run into the cameraman? That's bad omen, bro.
I told you it was bad vibes. And you were like, that's
We
dumb. And then sure
won.
enough, it
We
was a bad
won.
vibe. It was a bad vibe for 3/4, 3.5 quarters. It was a bad vibe.
Oh,
Uh for for me, um I'm going to go I'm gonna go 52-17. How about that? 52-17 is gonna be mine. I do think that early on, Kevin Wilson's going to scheme a few things up. And I do think he's still an excellent play caller, play designer, all of those things. And so I think he will take advantage of that. And knowing Brent a little bit helps him as well. He kind of knows how he likes to attack things. And that's still a cover as well. So for this game. So that'd be that. I do
what's
want to
like
give
30? It's a 30-point favorite or something like that.
currently right now in this moment, it is 27.5.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I know it's close to
27.5.
30. Okay,
Can I give you one? Tell you what, I know we're doing pickups next week. Can I give you one more game to pick? Because this will be
okay,
fun.
okay.
Ready? Missouri
Oh,
plays Kansas State on the SEC network at 11 a.m. in Columbia, Missouri. Do you even want to guess what the spread is currently right now?
It's 5 points.
It is 3.5.
It's
It
gone
is
down then.
only 3.5.
It's gone down. I think. Well, at least on my pick'em was the pick'em because I remember that was 5 points.
By the way, let me just look at this really quickly while you're umming and trying to process. Missouri has had a powerhouse start to the year of beating South Dakota 35-10, and they beat Middle Tennessee State University 23-19. Okay, 23-19 and 35-10.
Oh,
Now, on the other hand, Kansas State has so far this season beaten a team 45-0 in Southeast Missouri, and they played Troy, who, by the way, is a decent little program, 42-13. And by the way, they were up 42-0 and completely called the dogs off to end that game to make it 42-13. Is a 3.5 point favorite.
yeah, that's yeah. Can I also just talk? Can I just tell the quick story about the Missouri fan that was on my flight
Oh God, yeah.
that was like saying that they were due to win an SEC championship and that's their goal every season and it's realistic. I was like, bro, I don't know what copium you're on, but give me some of it. I'm gonna go Kansas State. I'm gonna go Kansas State. I'm gonna go 38 to 10. 38-10.
Oh, dang it. Okay, I gotta change my score now.
Oh, is that what you were gonna pick?
Yes,
Exactly.
legitimately, I was picking 38-10.
Oh, okay.
Legitimately gonna pick 30. So I'm gonna actually up the ante and say it's gonna be 41-10. Because they have
Okay.
literally 2 weeks in a row been at 42 points before you could blink, and then just been on cruise control the rest of the game.
I
I
will
think
say,
that
can I actually just say I'm going to be cheering very hard for Theo Weiss. I still will be cheering for Theo Weiss.
100%. Yeah, no doubt.
Oh,
No doubt. I
so
mean,
let's
I hope of their 10 points, I hope it's Theo Weiss that scores the one touchdown in
yeah.
those 10 points, right? Like
Yeah. Hopefully he
that's
kicks
what
the
I'm hoping
maybe
for.
he'll kick the field goal too. Who knows?
Maybe he'll kick it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also hoping for a complete dismantling beatdown on the SEC network by Kansas State, and I hope Todd Bates makes a phone call as soon as it's over with and done. So,
It's
that's
kind of funny. A lot of these guys, if OU plays well, this is someone we're going to talk to as the season goes on. You got Williams Noweri,
yep.
and then you've got what is his name? The kid that just committed to A&M.
McKinley,
McKinley.
Dominic McKinley,
Dominic McKinley. I could think of Dominic, but I couldn't think of his last name.
who just watched his team go down to Miami and give up 48 points with
Yeah.
the highest rated recruiting class in history being on the field.
Yeah. They figured it out. They're putting it all together, guys. So
yeah.
Jimbo's a defense whisperer. So anyway, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend of football. I can't wait to watch it.
It will be good. So, well, again, that's us. That's kind of our thoughts on the game. There's not a whole lot to break apart there other than, again, I think the simple way to look at this game is watch OU and see if they play to their ability and their standard and what they're capable of doing. That's what the barometer for this week is. So again, that's it. We are not reporters. We are fans. We're having a great time. We hope you are too. And we will talk to you guys later.
Night, Baker.